Hello everyone. Today I want to tell you a story called The Lady and the Lion. I absolutely love this story because it's romantic. I have a little tender spot in my heart for a good romance story, and this is exactly that. This is actually a bit of a combination of a couple stories by the Brothers Grimm. So it is a fairy tale based on the Brothers Grimm's tales, but this one has been retold by an illustrator, Laurel Long, and Jacqueline K. Ogburn. So they actually retold the story with a little bit of their own twist on it. And this book is in fact actually an autographed copy. And as you can see here, this is the illustrator Laurel Long, and she's even drew a little drawing of a lion. So you can find this book at your local library, along with many other tales by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time there was a merchant who had 3 daughters. Well, the merchant was going into town to the market, and so he asked his 3 daughters what they would like from the market. The first daughter says, "Oh, I want some pearls." The second daughter, "Oh, please, Daddy, bring me some gold." The third daughter, who was much more simple, decided she would like to have a singing lark. So the father sets off to the market, and at the end of his day, he's found a pearl necklace, he's found a gold bracelet for his 2 daughters, but no matter how hard he looked, he could not find a singing lark anywhere. So he heads out on his way back home, very disappointed that he was not going to have the singing lark for his 3rd daughter. But on his way home, he stumbles across this magnificent castle, and even though it's wintertime, there's all these beautiful spring flowers abloom around this castle. So as he's going by, he hears a song lark. So he goes walking through, and in this big, beautiful tree, right at the very top of the tree, he sees a beautiful singing lark. So, not wanting to let his daughter down, he hops down from his horse and climbs up the tree, and he catches the lark, and just as he's about to start climbing down, he hears a magnificent roar. Roar! When he looks down, he sees this huge lion with his paws up on the tree. And the lion looks up at the merchant and he says, "I eat those who steal from me." And the man, very scared of the lion, says, "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't know that the bird was yours. Please spare me." Well, the lion, being the courageous warrior that he is, offers the man a deal. The lion says to the man, "If you will promise me the first thing that greets you when you go home, you may keep the bird and your life." Well, the merchant thinks for a moment, and he's really hesitant to take this deal because normally when he returns home, it is his 3rd daughter that usually is the first to greet him. While he's thinking, the lion is impatient and he shakes the tree and the leaves are trembling, and the man is also trembling. So finally the man says, "Well, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, it'll be my hound dog or my barn cat that greet me first at home." So he accepts the deal and heads off on his way home with the bird for his daughter. As he's approaching home, his heart sinks because who does he see greeting him first but his 3rd daughter. He stops and talks to the daughter and says, "Daughter, I have your bird, but at too high a cost." And he explains to her about the lion and the deal that he's made. And he tells her, he says, "Daughter, I can't let you go. The lion will rip you to pieces." But his daughter, loving him and knowing how he's raised her, says, "Dad, you raised us to trust our honor and to stand up to our word. And if you made this promise, I will go to this lion and keep your promise. Maybe this lion will then let me go as well." So the next morning, the daughter takes off, and just as nightfall is approaching, she reaches the castle and sees this big, beautiful lion standing in front of the castle. And she walks up to him with the songbird in her hand and says, "I am here to repay my father's promise. I feel any lion that loves birds would not do me any harm." And even though her words are brave, her legs are trembling because she is scared of the lion. But she looks deep into his eyes and she sees compassion and kindness in the lion's eyes. And in fact, the lion is touched by her bravery. And so he tells her, "Lady, come on into my castle." And as he walks into the castle, nighttime is coming and the last rays of light close coming through the window. And as she turns around to greet the lion, she gasps because right before her is no longer a lion, but a very handsome prince. The prince says to her, "Please don't be afraid. There is an evil enchantress who put a spell on me and my court that by day we will all be lions, but by night we return to our human form. This evil enchantress wanted me to marry her, and when I refused, she put the curse on me. But please don't be afraid." So the lady says, "I will stay with you to keep my father's promise, whether you are a lion or a human." And she says, "Why don't we light a candle so that I can see you better?" And the lion, now who is a prince, says, "Wait, no, please don't light a candle. My curse has one more aspect to it. If even the smallest ray of candlelight should fall on me, I will turn into a dove and have to fly over the world for 7 years before I can come back." So the lady says, "Okay, fine, we won't do that." And they get to talking, and eventually they end up falling in love and getting married. And they're living happily. They go out at night and they build this beautiful garden with flowers that bloom under the moonlight so that they can share them together. But they also even go out in the daytime, with the lady often riding on the lion's back, because she does still love singing birds, and the lion knows just where the best singing birds are. Well, eventually news comes to the lady of her family that her 2 sisters are to be wed, and she's so excited and really misses her family and decides she wants to go back for the wedding, but she also wants to take her beloved husband and introduce him to her family. The lion hesitates because of his problem with the curse and candlelight. He's worried of leaving his sanctuary, but not able to tell his lady no to anything she requests, he agrees, and they set off the next morning for her home. Her family is ecstatic to see her, and they're really happy for how things turned out with her and the lion prince. So that day she has her dad build this room in the castle, or in their home, with the walls so thick that no light could penetrate them. And so the lion goes in and he locks himself in this room. After the wedding is over, the wedding party is coming down the hallway with candlelight to guide them on their way. And the door to this new room was built with green wood, and unfortunately, as it was drying out, the smallest crack made its way into the doorway. And as the candlelight walks by the door, one little flicker of candlelight, no bigger than a hair, lands on the lion, and poof, he's turned into a white dove. Well, the lady walks in expecting to see her prince, and then all she sees is the white dove sitting on the floor. The dove looks up at her and says, "I am cursed to fly over the world for 7 years, but if you will follow me, we can be together again. As I fly, every 7th step I will drop a white feather, and if you pick up and follow the feathers, we shall be together again." Well, the lady loves her prince very, very much, and so she doesn't hesitate. As the dove flies out of the room, he drops a white feather. She catches the feather and follows him out the door. Well, on and on she goes on this journey for 7 whole years, every 7th step catching a white feather every time, until eventually it gets close to the end of the 7 years, and the lady is so excited because she thinks they're going to be together again. But just as she's expecting the journey to be over and for her to have this prince of hers back, all of a sudden she can't find the dove, and there are no more feathers falling. So she starts to panic, and she looks around, and she says to the sun, "Sun, you shine over every mountain and every valley. Have you seen my white dove?" The sun answers her and says, "No, my lady, I have not seen your white dove. But here, take this box and use it in your hour of need." Well, the lady doesn't know what the box is for yet, but she takes it and thanks the sun and goes on about her way. She journeys all day and finally comes to this beautiful river, and she sits down by the river and starts to weep as the moonlight comes in and shines on the river. She looks up at the moon and says, "Moon, you glow over all of the land. Have you seen my white dove?" And the moon sends a beam across the lady's hand, and says to her, "No, my lady, I have not seen your white dove, but take this gift and open it in your hour of need." The lady moves her hand out of the moonlight and notices a small tiny egg, what appears to be a chicken egg. And so she's not sure what it's for yet, but she takes it and puts it away and goes on about her journey. As she searches, she finally reaches the edge of the forest where the land crashes down into the sea. And she stops and she looks up and says, "North Wind, you blow through every tree and every forest of the land. Have you seen my white dove?" Well, the North Wind says to her, I have seen your white dove, but only he is in his lion form again, and he is battling a dragon at the Red Sea. This dragon is the very enchantress that put the spell on your prince. He needs your help. Here, take my griffin, ride my griffin to the Red Sea, but be warned, when you distract the dragon, the lion can defeat her, and when they both fall, they will become human again. But you must grab your prince onto the griffin and fly away. If you hesitate, you will not defeat the enchantress. Well, the lady is so excited and anxious to get to her prince since he's in need of her help. So she jumps on the griffin and she flies off to the Red Sea. And surely enough, as she gets to the Red Sea, she sees this epic battle between this big dragon and her lion prince, and they're fighting it out. And so she tells the griffin, Griffin, let's fly to the dragon's face and distract it. And so she does. She flies right up into the face of the dragon, and as the dragon is snapping at the griffin, it gives the lion the chance to strike. So he strikes at the dragon's throat, and down comes the dragon and the lion to the surf, and they crash. And they both become human again. Well, the lady is just overcome with joy to see her prince after this long 7-year journey that she forgets the North Wind's caution. So she jumps off the griffin and runs over to her prince and embraces him and holds him and is so happy to see him. Little does she know, the enchantress jumps on the griffin and then swoops down and grabs her prince, and away they fly. So here the lady is again, not knowing where her prince is, and she's overcome with emotion. So she sits by the water and she just cries and cries and cries. And finally she says, you know what? I'm wiping away these tears. I'm going to find my prince. So she sets off again on another journey. And she looks and she searches through all the countryside until finally she sees this castle up on a hill up a really windy path. And she asks the townspeople about who lives in the castle, and they say it is an evil enchantress who is set to marry a prince tomorrow. Well, the lady is suspicious, so as she gets closer, she notices the North Wind's griffin tied to the gate. And so she realizes this is the evil enchantress and her prince. But she's not sure how she can get in. But then she remembers the box the sun gave her. So she takes out the box and opens it, and inside is this beautiful dress made of the rays of the sun itself. So she puts on the dress, and she's glowing and just gorgeous. And so she walks right into the castle and walks right up to the enchantress. And the enchantress is so wowed by this dress. She just says, oh my gosh, I love this dress. I absolutely have to have this for my wedding tomorrow. What will you take in exchange for this gown? And the lady says, well, I have heard of the courage of your prince. I would like just to be able to see him, and then I will give you the dress. Well, the enchantress is hesitant. She doesn't want to do this, but this gown is beautiful and she has to have it. So she thinks, well, okay, I will agree to this and you can go see the prince. But she has her servants give the prince a sleeping potion so that he is asleep when the lady goes to visit him. As she walks in, she does find her prince laying there asleep, and she rushes to his side and tries to shake him awake, but he will not wake. No matter what she tries, she can't get him to awake. Then she remembers the egg that the moon gave her, so she takes out the egg and she cracks it open, and inside is a tiny cup rimmed with pearls and full of liquid. She eases the liquid over to the prince and has him drink the liquid from the cup, and instantly he's awake. And he wraps her in his arms and says, I dreamed we'd be together again. Well, as this reunion is taking place, the enchantress has this beautiful gown on, but all of a sudden, poof, it turns to ashes. She's enraged, and she knows she has been tricked, so she runs up to the tower. The lady and her prince hear the enchantress coming, and so they run to the window and open it and try to get out, but they look down and there's no way to get down. The man says, there's no way to escape. I'm going to have to fight her again. But the lady has a better idea. She says, wait, North Wind, please release your griffin and bring it to us so that we can fly it home. So the griffin flies up to them, but just as the griffin is approaching, the enchantress bursts through the door and rushes toward them. The lady and her prince jump onto the back of the griffin just as the evil enchantress, jumps at them, but she misses and falls into the rocks to her death to never cause trouble again. And the lady and her now prince get on the griffin and fly their way back to their home where it's daylight and they're both human and their garden is blooming, and the songbirds are singing, and they lived happily ever after. Thank you.